Hello Bits and Bones, my name is Lady V, and welcome to my channel, and the first ever Valheim Story Awards ceremony. If I can call it that, I haven't lit any candles. How about just welcome to the first Valheim Story Awards? This new system is a work in progress, as I'm likely to add more ribbons over time as the need arises, but for today, I've got the We're Not Home anthology to talk about, review, and bestow my appreciation upon. If you're new to the channel, let me happily introduce you to We're Not Home, a horror anthology collecting the works of writers you know and love from here on YouTube, including yours truly. The theme is short stories based on what can go wrong when you're on vacation or traveling. As the back describes, bad things happen when you're far from home. If you're interested in picking it up, I've got a link in the description below, and all the profits from the anthology go to the charity Books and Homes, dedicated to getting literature in the hands of children that need it. Now, these are the awards that we will be giving away today, in that order. And again, this is just my opinion and preference. Feel free to start a discussion with me in the comments about who you think won out in certain categories, because there are more than one contender for most of them, but only one can win the Valheim Story Award. And our first ribbon is the Eye On Award, given to In Front of Your House by Kate Kavanaugh. The Eye On ribbon goes to any writer I or others should keep their eye on. Pretty self-explanatory. I couldn't come up with a better thing to put on the ribbon, so I have a finger pointing at the writer. If you have any better suggestions of what I should draw for that, please let me know. Anyway, Kate Kavanaugh is very well known in the WriterTube community, but I heard that this is her first venture in writing a horror short story. Kavanaugh brought a freshness to the angle of a vacation horror story. I love starting off the anthology on the note that perhaps the vacation itself wasn't the stage for the horror, it's more about what you left back at home. I could totally relate to the feeling of disconnect and anxiety that comes with being away, and the lack of agency that you have, so that was a super fun inclusion to the mix. Next is the more general awards, and we'll start with number 3. Some anthologies aren't as thematic as others, so there will always be a varying mix of ribbons I hand out for each one. We're Not Home had a core theme, but also lots of different kinds of horror in that vacation subcategory, so I'll more often than not have the bronze to gold ribbons, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're better than other awards. It just means that other stories took precedent in winning their specific ribbon. The 1 through 3 ribbons are mostly just what ones I personally biasly liked the most for the theme, the writing, whatever it might have been, and didn't fit into any of the more specified ones. So coming in third, we have The Lords of Dusk by Jason White. One of the more action-packed stories in the anthology, this one starts on the classic premise of a couple's car breaking down in a rural town. More than rural, one might say, downright off the grid in a very suspicious way. And I'm so glad that I get to worry about ever stumbling into a similar situation myself on a car trip. Thanks, White. Number 2, we have Not in Tamworth Anymore by Dane Cobain. What I loved most about Cobain's story wasn't just the feeling of desperate isolation that comes with not having a form of communication, but the helplessness you're left with in the hands of others when that happens. Sometimes that doesn't bode well for you. I don't want to spoil anything, but the ending of Not in Tamworth Anymore was delightfully mysterious, and I definitely wouldn't mind learning more about the circumstances that led to this horror. And the quote-unquote gold medal goes to The Starlit Suite by R. St. Clair, the founder and organizer of the other 2 WriterTube anthologies, Local Haunts and the coming soon Served Cold. Classic horror is classic horror, and we love it, but it's also super refreshing reading about a modern interaction with staple spooky situations. The Starlit Suite was a super fun look at what would happen if a rising internet influencer whose niche is in fake scares met the genuine article. And again, I really loved the ending. And now for some of the more specific ribbons. For longer anthologies, I think I will tier some of the ribbons, like this one, as the best fit, but there wasn't quite enough stories in this one to warrant that. So it would be like 1, 2, and 3 of how well they fit the core theme of the anthology. So the winner of the best fit is Head in the Sand by Cam Wolfe. You may be thinking Cam had a slight advantage in nailing this one, seeing as he chose the theme for the anthology and commissioned the art for the beach, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he fit right into the vacation horror theme to a T. Honestly, I think I would have been severely disappointed if there was no beach sand burial story, so I'm super happy that it was there to tie everything together in the end. I think the next one in competition for this would be me and R. St. Clair, obviously, but I can't vote for myself, so I'll let Cam have it, eh buddy? Next, we have the Twister ribbon. The Twister ribbon goes to the story with the best or funnest twist, and that's going to go to 665 by Matt Wall, although every story in this anthology had some really solid flipped endings. Despite the demonic tendencies, I found the start of the story and the relationship quite cute in 665. Would I put up with that shit? Probably not. But the tone slowly shifts from determinedly playful to downright toxic. As for the twist end, I don't know. I'm a bit of a sucker for meta tie-ins as to why the story was told a certain way or by a certain person, and that's what 665 definitely supplied. As time goes on, you'll find that I'm a sucker for creature horror, so this will be one of my favorite to hand out to stories, and this creature feature goes to Odd Augie by Andrew Lyle. As not to spoil anything, I'll just say that the closing act, wink wink, was a masterful work of imagery and had me visualizing it for days to come. And lastly, I figured I'll throw in an honorable mention ribbon for the stories that I obviously liked and wanted to bring up, but didn't have a specific spot to throw them into. So, in this one, the honorable mention will go to 9 Seconds by Mary McWilliams. This story gave going into the belly of the beast a solid meaning, and made it even harder for me to ever want to get on a plane. So that was probably pretty short, mostly because I wanted to set a standard for myself for it to be okay not to talk about every single story in an anthology, but still appreciate all of them as a whole, and then throw love on very specific ones. And I don't want to spoil too much of anything for any of them, so I can't go in depth talking about short stories, but hopefully this was fun. This concludes the first ever Valheim Story Awards. Even if it doesn't catch on, I think that this was a fun way to show appreciation and highlight smaller stories, so I'll be continuing it in the future, developing it, and maybe expanding it. Who knows? These awards/ribbons are just a fun thing that I'll be doing, and the best way that I could come up with to highlight stories in an anthology on an even playing field, because a ghost story isn't inherently better than a creature feature, they're just different. And I give these out as a matter of my own complete bias, so if you'd like to nominate your own winners, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what any of you that have read the We're Not Home anthology think. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support me, I have my Patreon linked in the description below, as well as the We're Not Home anthology buy link, in case you're interested. I'll make all the ribbons that I produce for this sort of story awards available to all my patrons on every tier in my Patreon, so if you're interested in getting your hands on any, I'd love to see some other people pick it up. And again, as always, thank you so much for watching. My name is Lady V, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.